Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with you here today. It's an article from Bleeding Fool. This is dated February 26th. Just getting to it now because I was on vacation. I'm recording this at least a week after this article came out, but it's worth talking about. So it says, the explosion of woke has utterly destroyed Hollywood. And there's a good old Hollywood land sign, but let's get right into it. It says, a few years back, according to Peter Kiefer and Peter Savodnik, the Hollywood Reporter's editor-in-chief proposed the story to his team after a lunch meeting with a notable agent. Which one of those is the Hollywood Reporter's editor-in-chief? I don't know, but maybe, maybe it's just in general. They're just the writers of the article. Never mind. Okay, it says that the agent had suggested investigating the fallout from Hollywood's sudden push for diversity, highlighting how white male writers were finding fewer job opportunities. The newsroom reacted with disbelief, particularly the younger reporters who ridiculed the notion of white men facing challenges in the industry. The editor-in-chief, typically confident, appeared shaken and quickly retreated from the idea. The story went beyond job scarcity for white males. It delved into the narrative shaping Hollywood's identity and its global impact. It reflected on the industry's roots in innovation and ambition, morphing from humble beginnings into a glittering hub of dreams and achievements. Despite initial interest from a reporter to pursue the story further, another editor advised against it, fearing career repercussions. This reluctance hinted at a broader reluctance within THR, it's the Hollywood Reporter, and similar industry publications to address controversial or contentious topics. All right, so it's basically a bunch of people who, here's a problem, and then other people just going, well, I'm afraid if the young people are going to shout us down, so we're just not going to do anything about it. So it says, as the Free Press writes, it says, the explosion of woke, as one longtime producer put it, didn't come out of nowhere. Hollywood had always pushed boundaries, from the 1947 Gentleman's Agreement, which confronted anti-Semitism, to Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, which is from 1967, which tackled interracial marriage, to All in the Family, which aired from 71 to 79, which grappled with race and women's liberation. The original run of Will and Grace, from 98 to 2006, did more to advance the cause of gay marriage than anything else pre-Obergefell. It says, and then there were the villains. The vast majority, from the Terminator to Hannibal Lecter to Gordon Gekko, were uber-white. An Austrian robot, that's the Terminator, of course, a Lithuanian, so that would be Hannibal Lecter, and a waspy pinstriped capitalist, so that would be Michael Douglas as Gordon Gekko in Wall Street. So it says for the insiders, let's see this from the Hollywood Reporter. Let's see, what does it say? So favorite movie villains. Oh, okay. So the landscape began to shift in September 2015 when the Academy had to deal with the Oscars So White controversy that engulfed the 87th Academy Awards. Because, God forbid, white people actually just happened to do better that year. But oh no. The studios were pressured to rethink how they did business. Then in 2016 and 2017, Me Too created momentum, but nothing compared to the George Floyd death in 2020, which seemed to push things over the top and led to the Academy introducing its representation and inclusion standards entry, that's a RAISE platform, demanding films meet diversity criteria to qualify for Best Picture consideration. So we're going to stifle art so that you guys can do, if you were to be a movie maker, would you be like, I have to follow these rules? You'd be like, just make the damn movie. Whatever. The CBS and ABC quickly got on board and also imposed diversity quotas in their programming. What was I going to say here? Yeah, and I was going to say something about the George Floyd death in 2020. It seems to push things over the top, not just in Hollywood, but I'm talking all over the country. That was the catalyst for all this and just sped everything up, but at least people are waking up to it at this point. So it says, for a movie to qualify for Best Picture, producers not only had to register detailed personal information about everyone involved in the making of that movie, but the movie had to meet 2 of the Academy's 4 diversity standards, touching on everything from on-screen representation to creative leadership. And an Academy spokesperson said only select staff would have access to data collected on the platform. So Jesus Christ, it's like, we're going to impose these standards and only certain people can know about them. All right. Says the Academy explained that movies failing to meet these standards would not be barred from qualifying for Best Picture until 2024, but producers were already complying. To navigate these changes, filmmaker Ava DuVernay, who is this woman right here, launched Array Crew, a database promoting inclusivity behind the scenes. The Hollywood Reporter openly declared that Array Crew fundamentally changed how Hollywood productions will be staffed going forward because if they're led by her, she's a far leftist, and she's kind of an ist as well, if you catch my drift. She also hasn't made a movie that has been successful commercially at all, anywhere. Okay, though she keeps getting hailed by Hollywood and getting projects. Again, if you're not going to make money, why are you getting projects still? I think we know why. Says, while some rightfully viewed DuVernay's efforts skeptically, Few openly criticize or are mindful of potential backlash. It says, however, these initiatives spark concerns of replacing one form of exclusion with another. That's exactly what these diversity proposals are doing. It's just saying, like, there's supposedly minorities are being excluded from Hollywood, and I don't work in Hollywood. I never have. I never will. But I don't think that's really the case. But now it's like we're actually purposely making a point of excluding white people for reasons. Okay? This is the industry's embrace of diversity brought about not just demographic shifts, but also ideological and cultural transformations, breeding fear of deviating from the prevailing narrative. It didn't just bring about a demographic change. It brought about an ideological and cultural transformation, one that has not created better content. Now, for a film to be eligible for the sought-after Best Picture award, it must meet no less than 2 of the Academy's 4 diversity standards, as was previously mentioned, which means at least one of the lead or supporting actors have to be from an underrepresented racial or ethnic group in a specific country or territory of production, at least 30% of all actors in secondary and more minor roles being from at least 2 underrepresented groups, or the main storyline being centered on an underrepresented group. So, like, if this was 1997 and Steven Spielberg was making Saving Private Ryan, you kind of really, for that particular movie, couldn't have anyone from an underrepresented group in it. You're going to tell me that movie, even though it didn't win Best Picture, and it absolutely should have over Shakespeare in Love, which is a good movie, but not the Best Picture that year over Saving Private Ryan. You're trying to tell me that, like, you're not going to put Saving Private Ryan from freaking Steven Spielberg up for Best Picture just because, like, the movie, you couldn't have other people in the movie. Like, these are just completely arbitrary standards. So it says as, where did we go? Did I skip over something? No, because it just goes as Sabato Jr. So it's Antonio Sabato Jr., who is a former, I think he still might act, but he was an actor, and he is a Republican. He says they're destroying the Oscars, which is correct. Says they've already done that. Says, but now they're destroying an industry that used to be free to have the choice to make films based on merit, based on performances, based on so many things that were real. He told News Nation host Dan Abrams last month. They are not trying to bring people together. They're dividing people. They're bringing racism. They're choosing who and where. The more they do that, the more they talk about race and colors and gender and all this other BS, excuse my French, they're going to make it a lot harder for people, he said. So yeah, I mean, this is what they're doing. They are dividing people by doing this, but let's just keep going. It says, for their report, Kiefer and Savodnik, who were in the very first sentence of this article and finally reappear here, says they spoke to more than 25 writers, directors, and producers, all of whom identify as liberal, and all described a pervasive fear of running afoul of the new dogma. Says everyone has gone so underground with their true feelings about things, said Mike White, the writer and director behind the hit HBO comedy drama The White Lotus. If you voice things in a certain way, it can have negative repercussions for you, and people can presume that you could be racist or you could be seen as misogynist. Says Howard Koch, who has been involved in the production of more than 60 movies, including such classics as Chinatown and Marathon Man, which are both very good movies, and is the former president of the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences, said, I am all for LGBT and Native Americans, blacks, females, whatever minorities that have not been served correctly in the making of content, whether it's television or movies or whatever, but I think it's gone too far. I know a lot of very talented people that can't get work because they're not black, Native American, female, or LGBT. It's nice to see at least someone on the left saying, like, I'm all for that, but, which, I mean, everybody really should be, like, whatever, put whoever you want in the story as long as it serves the story properly, not just to, like, shoehorn them in something, but he's acknowledging that it's gone too far at this point. It says the reporters were also shown correspondence with agents, writers, and studio chiefs that demonstrated how this new thinking at the highest levels of Hollywood is impacting the culture behind the scenes. It says this one is a dead end. They're going to limit the search to women and BIPOC candidates. It says how tied to hiring him are you? There are some that don't like the idea of hiring a white guy. I wish I had a better way to frame it. Hate this shit. The studio now telling us this job must go to a female BIPOC writer. Sorry, it sucks. So it says a showrunner who wished to remain anonymous added, this is all going to end in a giant class action lawsuit. Yeah, I mean, because you're discriminating against people based on the color of their skin, which, the left keeps telling you that is something that they don't want, yet they keep doing it, and if you go look up Democrats historically, it's something that's they've done historically. But anyway, it says an interview with Bill Maher, acclaimed director Quentin Tarantino summed up the new thinking in Hollywood. It says ideology is more important than art. Ideology trumps art. Ideology trumps good. Ideology trumps entertaining. That is about as spot on about it as you could possibly be, Mr. Tarantino. Says many movies and series that were formerly universally appreciated but are now banned could not be developed in today's entertainment culture, which only seems to value inclusion and diversity rather than merit and entertainment. For example, Blazing Saddles, which was co-written by Richard Pryor, could never be produced today. Oh God, no, that wouldn't. People would get probably murdered for that. It says furthermore, The Bad News Bears, despite its interracial cast, would not be greenlit. And I haven't seen The Bad News Bears since I was a kid, and I have basically no memory of it, so I couldn't really comment on that. This transgender activist would cancel Tootsie due to the casting, because Dustin Hoffman was the lead character in that, and yes, they'd have a problem with that. It says The Wizard of Oz has a munchkin problem. Well, not really, but I get what he's saying. It says, and All in the Family, one of the most influential shows of the 1970s, cannot be replicated today. Oh, dear God, no. There's not a chance in hell anyone get near that. As the only reason a controversial series such as South Park, which premiered in 1997, has been able to remain is because it appears to have been grandfathered in. Yeah, and I think maybe Comedy Central knows that it's still a cash cow, and it still brings them a lot of clicks and everything when they do something, and people still really enjoy the show. I mean, even after, what is this? It's 26 seasons it's been on, because it hasn't premiered in 2024 yet, so I'm not going to say 27. It's been 26 seasons plus all those Paramount movies, and it's, I think, as sharp as it's ever been, really. It says, but it's not just wokeness destroying Hollywood. The streaming model has also made things harder than before. The streaming services have upended old business models and imposed a new ruthlessness on an industry that was already pretty ruthless. For years, the real money in Hollywood came from the television channels that broadcast reruns of old movies. Residuals meant creatives were paid handsomely. With the rise of Netflix, Amazon, and other streaming services, that model collapsed, and the vast majority of creatives had to make do with less. Now, most people in the industry do not earn enough to support a family of 4 in Los Angeles, and as money has gotten tighter, people have gotten angrier, and things have gotten uglier. So Hollywood's changing landscape has not only negatively impacted the quality of what's being produced, it has accelerated ideological polarization and intensified debates over representation and inclusion in the entertainment industry rather than settle them. It says, while Kiefer and Savadnik's original report is now over 3 years old, nothing has changed for the better. As Hollywood had better recognize that no one goes to the movies for 2 hours of diversity and representation. No one. Being woke is not going to save or even elevate your film. Just ask Ava DuVernay about A Wrinkle in Time. Then again, maybe she doesn't care if Hollywood gets woke and goes broke. She already cashed her check. And what is this link for? I can't really tell. But yeah. So yeah, good article. Probably some editorial stuff needs to be done to it to make it a little bit better, but I'm not going to get into that now. But I mean, it was good overall. But yeah, this is kind of what Hollywood's turned into, and I don't see it stopping anytime soon. I think you're starting though to see maybe some beams of light shining through here and there, but other than that, I still think this is going to continue. And until the Academy gets rid of their draconian laws about there needs to be certain groups in there, and it should just be anybody, just make a movie, because you're stifling art. If you're telling people you can be an artist, but you have to do only this, and that, then that's not really art, is it? So let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon.